Let's record.
Hello! That was probably the best transition into the game ever. Hello and welcome to this week's thrilling episode of Mithras, Percentile Dice, RuneQuest sort of like game, fantasy setting. You might have noticed that we're one person short. We're not a short person, we're one person short. That is because, unfortunately, Wrath Inspired, due to real life situations, has had to sadly bow out of the game, meaning that the foursome is now a threesome. That was it one point a fivesome, or has it always been a foursome?
It's always been it was always a foursome. Because then we lost. Oh no, was it a five? It was a fivesome at one point.
It was the very first few episodes.
We lost Owen.
Yeah, because there was
Owen, Mac Owen.
We still had
Briggs. Yeah, there was Gulliver, Hengist, Briggs, and Owen. No, that's four.
Yeah, and then we lost Owen, and we gained Bartleby and Dominic.
Oh, did Dominic and Bartleby both play when Briggs was here?
Yeah.
Did
Bartleby?
Yeah, we had one or two episode overlap on the caravans.
Oh right, I see. Oh, he's stroking a cat. I wondered what he was doing.
With a pen.
He's combing a cat.
All I could see is sort of like. I can
You're muted, Mr. Pickles.
Mr. Pickles, you're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Pickles.
Am I muted?
So everybody's sort of like had a swap round, and I just realised that because Chugga came and went, we've got some people in the wrong windows.
I did tell you that I was going to have to go and.
Yeah, so
I have this funny audio setting on my computer, which is enhanced audio. And if I'm playing any games that I've got to listen to the sound, like PUBG or Hunt Showdown, I have to turn it on.
Right. So that.
But when I turn it off, it disconnects me from all audio channels. So
right.
Discord as well.
Got you. I don't have anything posh like that. Right. I think you are now all round the right way.
Because you have exactly the same computer as me.
All right. So anyway, just to let you know, you won't actually know this unless you're watching the stream now, but you're set up like Shadowrun. So I'm up on the top and you three are sort of like down below. And then when we go to the small one with the big map, I'm over at one side and you three are down the other side. Oh, right. Well, beforehand you were down and along a little. Now I've just sort of like rearranged everything, so there's a little bit more room for everybody. So this is, and you're all in different windows, and you actually have a window, and then you have your icon, and then you have a piece of like paper coming out of it with your name on it. So it's not actually in your window on the big screen anymore. That's only on the small.
Posh.
It is. I'm just looking at it thinking, oh, I'm impressed by that. I am impressed. But
you are easily impressed.
I am very easily impressed. So, but without further ado, I'm going to allow the players to introduce who they are and who they're playing tonight. And because everybody swapped windows, we are going to go down there for the first one, which is Longshanks EPG.
Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG. Tonight I'm playing Hengist. He is the group's warrior, weapons expert, and somewhat quiet but kind of stern at the same time. It gets a bit over enthusiastic in battle, and he likes chopping people's limbs off with his swords. And yeah, you might find out some more about him tonight.
Fantastic. And then passing along underneath me, you have Chugwugger.
Hi guys, I'm Chugwugger. I played Gulliver, the ginger-haired, freckled-faced, somewhat scrawny-looking youth. He practices the magical art of sorcery and can adapt his spells to various situations. He does it through an ability known as shaping, and by shaping the spell, he can increase the range, magnitude, duration, even the number of targets he can affect, or combine several spells together. He also has several lesser cantrips at his disposal. They're sort of like quick to cast, but weak in comparison to his sorcery spells. He's still an apprentice, but he is getting stronger day by day. And I am going to pass on to Mr. Pickles.
I am Mr. Pickles. I play our team's theist. I serve Amriel, the goddess of the moon. She shines her light upon me in the form of knowledge, some strange miracles, and dance. That's about all I can say about Bartleby. It's got mangled hands and a death wish in the form of a bracelet.
And a club. And a club.
I
he's lost his
my club.
Oh, yeah.
I stored my club. I stored it at the library.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember. Okay, then. So let me give you a quick synopsis of the story so far. We're actually going to be starting a new series of episodes tonight. So if you haven't been watching, if you're new to the stream, then that's absolutely fine, because you will be seeing the adventures starting from the beginning. However, I need to bring you quickly up to date with what briefly happened last week and the general feel of the campaign. The party have been they actually own, or they have a seed. And this seed they found, it currently lives in a coffer. It is very magical, and it appears to have the effect of being able to grow some kind of fungus. And they went off in search of the other seeds, and they found out that there's three other seeds and one big seed, and the three other seeds are at various locations and guarded or not guarded, as the case may be, and each of these seeds have various powers. And the seeds themselves, the party know this, so just to bring you up to date, there was the seed of fungal growth which the party has. They think there are some other seeds that can summon beasts of various descriptions, and another one that maybe does insects or reptiles or amphibians or something like that. And then there is one seed that sort of like rules them all, and that is guarded by a dragon called Cassini, who is safe and sound in the Oasis of Sanctuary. And that is when Bartleby actually has a bracelet that is somehow connected with that. In order to gain this knowledge, the party have been adventuring on the last part of the campaign to the Library of the Mystics, where they spent several days researching and finding out information, accompanied by a blind woman who had a pet bird in a cage called Molly, who, unbeknownst to her, was actually dead, and yet she kept referring to it. And the party generously left food with her and started to head back to Lindo. And Lindo is the town that they actually live in and sort of like rest in between adventures. However, as they approached Lindo this time, the roads, the entrance to the city, which is normally packed by caravans and stalls selling their wares, was somewhat desolate. And as they approached the town, the walled town, Hengist, using his warfare and strategic knowledge, noticed that the walls were somewhat protected, and various siege weapons and guards were up on the battlements, which was not the case. The party entered Lindo, which they normally can just walk straight in, and they were stopped by 6 guards and a captain of the guard, and was told that the Count Bastian, who lives on the nearby hill, wished to have an audience with them. And so we start this week's adventure, which is titled Audience with the Count. And with that, and just to let you know that it is Oath Day today, which is like Thursday, and we are in the month of Calistral, okay, and we're on the first day. So Bartleby, you'll be pleased to know that Amriel is a new moon tonight and will be for the next 3 days. And Calistral is sort of like 3 months into the new year. It'll be a full moon where Maroth is currently a waxing crescent. And so we enter the game straight away where we left off yesterday, so there's no need to have any discussions apart from the guard and the captain of the guard approach you and say that you are needed, and the Count Bastian wishes to have an audience with you. So he has just said that, so I will hand over to you guys for your reply.
We are, of course, at the Count's service. We will happily follow you up to...
Yeah,
well, he will follow you up to him.
The captain goes, guards! And they sort of like flank you on both sides. So you are sort of like walking single file, Hengist at the front, and some people down by the side. Thank you for the bits. That's just coming in from Violet Gumby. 10 bits. Thank you, Violet Gumby. Nice to have you. Welcome. You head off, bordered by these guards, with the captain of the guard walking in front of you. And you head along the road, along the streets, towards Count Bastian's castle or fortress. And so you can see now whereabouts you are. Yeah. He's oops. Yeah,
we got the map.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why it says duplicate page on mine. So you're coming in.
We came in here, didn't we? Yeah.
That door. You'll be coming down one of the streets to this place, this square, and then you'll be coming through this gate, across the bridge, and up to Count Bastian's fortification up here.
What are the streets like? Are there still other people going about their business, etc. on them? Or
that's a good question, because I was just about to tell you. As you walk through the streets, the whole town seems somewhat subdued. There's very few people out and about, and the people who are out and about tend to be hurrying from place to place. They seem to have their heads down, their protectively have their hands and their arms around their offspring. And you notice that the normal hustle and bustle of the town is sadly lacking. And you also notice, can you all three of you just make some perception rolls? You will all see this. I just want to see how successful you are at noticing detail. Okay, so Hengist and Bartleby, you notice and Gulliver, you notice this as well. As you're going through the streets, you notice that there's some buildings that have been damaged. It looks like there's slates coming off the roof and bashes, holes in the walls of the buildings. They're normally made out of wood and some stone, but not a lot. And a lot of the wooden buildings have sort of like huge holes in them. Gulliver, this is for your information, since you did a formidable roll. It's not burnt damage. or acid damage or anything like that. It looks like something's been bashed into them. And it doesn't look huge. It looks probably, you think it's probably the size of a human. And you notice that some of it's on the second floor, some of it's on the ground floor. And you also notice as you walk, all three of you, that you can see somewhat pools of blood that have had dust sort of like shoveled over the top of them, and to sort of like dry it up. And it doesn't look like the Lindo that you left. Just to give you an idea of this sort of like the area that this is happening in, it seems to be all the way around there that you can see this sort of like, it looks like some kind of a battle has occurred. You're not too sure about the rest of the town, because you can't see it from there, but it doesn't look like it's in one street.
Gulliver's going to try to start a conversation with one of the guards walking next to him.
Okay.
And he's just going to say, "Is Lindo under attack?"
Roll your influence roll. Hang on, I just need to call up my guards. Here they are.
Are we walking in single file?
Yes, you are. So the captain of the guards at the front, and then there's Hengist, then either you or Bartleby, and then down either side, sort of like parallel to you guys, are three guards on each side.
Do you want to be in the middle, Bartleby?
I really would, actually.
I can tell. You could be in the middle.
Thanks. I just want to feel safe.
Yeah.
It almost looks like flying monkeys attacked this place. Bartleby says to them.
The guard turns around to you and sort of like, it's the one on your left that turns around to you, and he just turns around to you and says, "Shh, shut up, boy." And then he sort of like goes back, and he's trying to look very stern and sort of like purposeful and like doing his job.
Gulliver's going to say to Bartleby, "Bartleby, what do I call him?"
You actually feel, Gulliver, that this is not the right mood for chirpy voices. Everything is almost like in hushed whispers around here, and even you get this sense of foreboding, this sense of as if there's been a battle and there's sort of like maybe people have lost loved ones. And so you almost like ask Bartleby in a sort of like a subdued whisper rather than your perky normal self.
Bartleby,
Yeah?
what do I call him?
Call who?
The Count.
I think his name's Count Bastian.
Yeah.
I think you can probably just call him the Count, though, if you're feeling as nervous as I am.
I don't have to refer to him as like Your Highness or Your Majesty or.
I don't know if I've ever met the Count. I've always wanted to, though. So I'm sure as long as we show reverence and he's not there to execute us, we should be good, Gulliver.
The guards standing at the first gatehouse snap to attention as they see the captain, who sort of like makes a casual nod, and they open those gates, which you remember from the past are normally open, but now they appear to be quite formidably shut. And you start to make your way across the bridge.
Looking at the battlements of the actual keep house, where to our southwest, sort of like this area, is there a lot of activity on the
There seems to be 2 guards outside that because you're heading towards over that bridge at the moment. So as you sort of like, you have to, of course, peer round because you're right at the back, and you sort of like peer around in between the guards, and you can just see that there's 2 guards stood at the gatehouse. The bridge looks completely sturdy. Doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it, or it doesn't look like it's been bashed. And even as you approach the fortification where the Count lives, it doesn't look like it's been damaged, as the rest of the town looks like that you've been in.
How high up is the bridge?
Yeah, it's quite a drop to the water below. It's almost like an arched bridge. So you figure it's probably, you can see the incline at the Count Bastion side. So you probably think it's at the highest point that it's probably like a 60 to 100 foot drop over to the other side. So about what would be that? I think if you divide by 10 and multiply by 3, you get it in meters.
Can we see anything from as we're walking over the bridge, sort of like to our southwest, sort of like this area down here?
You can see the slum areas that are normally down there. Yeah.
Can we see any sign, or can Gulliver see any sign of damage there? Or because there's also a whole load of boats, isn't there?
Yeah, the boats look absolutely fine. You can make a perception roll, and if you get formidable, because it's quite a distance, I'll be able to give you the information. Yeah, so you can see the houses, but it doesn't look like anything's been bashed up. But whether or not nothing's been knocked down, but whether or not they've been damaged to the same degree as what was when you were walking through Lindo, you're not too sure. The guards bring you into the keep, and they take you to a room. And the captain sort of like opens the door, and you're ushered into the room. It appears to be some kind of waiting room. It doesn't look like a throne room or anything like that. And you get ushered into the room, and the captain and the other guards sort of like wait outside. And you know quite definitely that there's 2 guards stood outside. And just as you enter, Gulliver, since you're the last person in, you sort of like look down, and as the captain shows you in, just as you go in, you see the captain sort of like turn off and head towards what appears to be deeper into the fortifications, deeper into the castle. And you notice that 4 of the guards stay outside, and then 2 of the guards follow you into the room, and they close the door behind you with them inside. They're armed with their normal long spears that they normally have, and similar to the one that Aaron used to carry. And you hear the door audibly click locked from the outside.
So we're in a locked room with 2 guards on the inside.
Correct. And the other 4, the last time you saw, was stood outside. And you notice that in this room there's 3 tables and 3 chairs, and there's a window which is small and has like a bar grid on it, so it's not something that you can climb out of, but it is giving a small amount of light into the room. And the guards inside point, and they sort of like gesture to the tables and say, you leave your weapons there, please, before going to see the Count.
Hengist will walk across to the table. He'll unstrap his helmet, put it on the table, and then his belt that has his sword and dagger he'll just take off and sort of like leave on the table, on the tabletop.
Gulliver's going to take off his backpack, and he's going to drape it over the back of the chair like you do. And then he'll take off his belt pouch, which has got his sling and his slinging stones in, and he'll take out his knife from the from its sheath and put that on the desk.
Hengist will also take off his backpack and leave it on the table, somewhat. Trying not to make it look like it's a reluctant thing to do.
Does Hengist still have his shield?
Yeah, he'll leave his ruined shield with its melted holes in. He'll put that on. He'll lean that against the side of the table.
And Bartleby.
Gulliver will also reach into his tunic and just take out a couple of rocks that he picked up, stones that he occasionally chucks around and leaves those on there as well.
And then Hengist will sort of turn his attention to himself and sort of try and dust off the worst of the mud and travel dust that's on his armor.
And Bartleby, what would you like to do?
I may have messed up your windows here because I just got kicked by my internet real quick. But Bartleby is going to leave his dagger and backpack and try and take a candle with, just as kind of something to hold on to. Just one candle. Maybe they'll take it away.
Hang on, I'm just sorting around your windows.
Sorry.
No, that's cool. You're back in the right place now. Let me just change.
As we're sort of taking off our equipment, Gulliver's going to say, "What do you think he wants with us?"
I can guess, but the likelihood is it's something to do with what's going on, what we've been involved in.
How much do we tell him?
I think we should see what he says first, and then act appropriately.
Right. Okay.
As long as we don't upset Sylvester in the end.
That is true.
Some of us have to tell the truth.
Right.
So the guards in the room, once you've offloaded all your paraphernalia onto tables, they do come over to you and ask you a simple question. They sort of say, "Are you carrying any hidden items?"
I am not, no.
I hold up my candle.
And he sort of looks at you, Bartleby, and he says, "The throne room will be lit. There's no need for your candle." Boy.
Gulliver put his hand into his tunic and come out with a mummified bird's foot and say, "I've got this."
Best not keep that. Best not have that in the presence of the Count. He is somewhat superstitious.
Are we allowed jewellery?
If it is your nature, we are a very open kingdom. Anybody is allowed to wear jewellery. It would not be judgmental on you. And they do proceed to give you a bit of a pat down, just to make sure, and they check inside your boots, and just to make sure that you're carrying no weapons, and in the seams of your cloaks and robes and things like that. So they look like they're quite proficient in what
Gulliver
they do.
does have several items concealed in his boots and the lining of his clothing.
What are they?
Money.
Oh yeah, in which case they just sort of look at you as if to say, "You could leave that in your room, boy." But as long as it's not a weapon, they're not too concerned about it.
I do still have my I'm going to call it a pendant with me in my...
No, that's fine. They just see that as a piece of jewellery.
Right, okay.
And they look very proficient in this. It looks like they've been doing this for several times, over a series of years. It doesn't look like they're doing it for the first time. And between you get this feeling that this might not be connected to what you saw in Lindo. This might be something that has been going on for quite a while within the Count's castle. And you sort of stand there and sit there and you wait and you wait. And the guards are very proficient, stood to attention at the door, and almost avoid any attempt to join them or encourage conversation to them or engage them with conversation. They're most very stoic looking, and they just seem to look straight ahead, a bit like the guards, at Buckingham Palace and things like that.
Can Gulliver go over to the window and sort of like have a look out, see whether or not he can
get a
glimpse of what's happening in the forecourt or something?
Yeah, none of you are going to be able to look out because the window's quite high up on the wall. It could be that if Hengist lifts you up, Gulliver, you might be able, or Bartleby lifts you up with his club hands. You might be able to see out.
No, it's all right. That might look a bit.
Hengist wouldn't comply with that because it would be a bit odd.
I'd comply.
Where we
Bartleby down for enlightenment and vision.
Gulliver's going to get bored if he's just stood in a room for too long. He's going to have to find something to do.
Well, Bartleby sort of like lifts you up, and you just sort of like manage to get your chin over the top of the lip of the building. You seem to be somewhere. I'm just pinging the map when I get on. You seem to be somewhere here.
Right, in that jutty out bit.
Yeah, sort of like looking over towards the bridge. Okay, so you're stood or sat or wandering about for some time. You estimate that maybe almost like an hour has gone by when the door opens once more from the outside. You hear the click of the lock, and the door opens, and the guards sort of like snap to attention as the captain of the guard is there, and he looks at you all, and he looks at the equipment, etc., on the tables and the chairs, and he turns to the guards and says, "Is it done?" And the guard says, "Yes, sir." And he looks at all three of you and says, "Please, follow me. The Count has something to ask you."
Will our things be safe in here?
And he heads off, marching down the corridor, and the guards sort of like signal for you to follow him quite briskly. And you head off down the corridor, and it's almost like very marbled floor and very ornate now. It doesn't look like the inside of a normal castle. It looks almost like the outside of the castle is almost like medieval like, but the inside is almost like rich embossed Tudor. And it has great marble floors and tapestries hanging up, and it's very warm, and it has lighting. And you go down what appears to be like a double span corridor, a very wide corridor. And as you go down it, you notice that there are guards here. But while the guards outside wear very grey and pale outfits with the twin jumping dolphins on it, which you remember is this insignia of the Count. As you pass guards in here, they are clad out in, they have shiny armour on and white tabards on and white helmets with great white and blue plumes on them, and again embossed on their embroidered on their tabards are the twin jumping dolphins of the Count, but they look slightly different to the normal everyday guard. The captain doesn't receive any salute or any snap to attention from these guards as he walks by, and it's almost as you walk past, you almost like see a sneer or smirk from these guards towards the captain, and two guards follow right at the end, and to them as well. As they approach the big double doors, which are huge and ornate, he goes up to the two white-clad guards there and gets really close to them and almost like whispers some kind of word. And the white guards open the doors, and the captain sort of like turns around and he says, "Stay here." And then he follows on, and the guards at the back says, "He meant us. You go in." And the two guards stay there.
Hengist will say to Bartleby and Gully, say, follow my lead as he strides, sort of like standing up as straight as possible as he strides up the centre of the room, following the guard captain.
And you should now be in the throne room.
Ooh.
Very well lit.
Yeah, it is. And you figure if I just move you to the move you back to the map, so you get an indication of where it is. It's here.
Right at the front of the pointy out bit, yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like looking down onto his subjects. It's very well lit. As you can see, it's very ornate. You can see up at the front that to the left and the right there's some doors. Can you see that in the picture?
Is it just where the light is? Just sort of like here?
No,
and
here, look.
All right, I see it, yeah.
And there's another one here.
Is that? Yeah.
And there's one just round here.
Yeah, and another one. Yeah. There.
Okay, and you can see the ornate throne at the top, but there's nobody sat on it when you arrive, and the guard, sort of like the captain of the guard, brings you up to this point, and he turns to you, all three of you. He says, "I advise you, when the count come in, that you kneel and keep your head down."
Fine.
That answers your question, Gully. I guess I'll just stand there waiting until Count comes in. Is it normal that Count wouldn't be in here?
Sorry, is that to the captain? Yeah. Or to me?
It's to everybody in the room, I guess. Bartleby isn't really talking to anybody in particular.
Can Hengist do a roll?
Yeah, you can.
What? Is the count in here roll?
We'll see. No, he failed it.
The captain of the guard says, with the count, nothing is normal.
Gulliver's just going to spend his time just sort of like looking round the room from where he stood, just seeing.
Is there anyone else in the room apart from the three of us and the guard captain?
There's no one else at all.
Okay.
You wait for another, it must be like 20 minutes, and Gulliver's just starting to get a little bit fidgety when the door over to the left sort of like swings into the corridor, so away from you, and you notice that two white-clad guards come in, and they stand off to one side, and they shout down the room, even though there's only like four of you in here. They shout as if they're addressing the whole room, and they shout, "Pray kneel for Count Bastion." And you notice that the captain of the guard, immediately gets down on one knee and bows his head.
Gulliver's going to do the same.
Hengist will follow suit.
Yeah, I think Bartleby is going to do that as well.
And into the room strides what appears to be a rather almost like old-looking man with grey hair and grey speckling his beard, but somewhat who is quite formidable. He's obviously very charismatic, and you can almost like feel his persona and his reverence that he earns, sort of like filling the room as even the white-clad guards get down on one knee, and he sort of like walks in. He doesn't go to his throne. He stands just at the front here. I've just got a question for you out of character, guys. If I do that, what do you see?
Can you do what?
Oh, that explains it. So when you're watching the stream back, the token is now filling the whole screen. Everything else in the background has gone sort of like dark. So the stream can just see that token and nothing else. You know, but I didn't know whether or not you actually see it on Roll20 or not.
No, we don't see anything.
Yeah.
So, as it was.
And you also notice that sort of like scuttling in next to him is somebody else.
We haven't seen him before, have we?
No. He's less ornately dressed than the Count. He seems to have leathers on and furs and things like that. And he sort of like comes in and he sort of like stands next to the Count, slightly behind him and off to one side. And he's sort of like, he's looking at you guys almost like down his nose, as if he's some... oh, that was interesting. What was that?
Sounded like your Xbox turning on.
Oh, yes.
Can you try to mute stuff like that, please?
It's because it just wants to update, and I hate it.
You could always turn it off.
It is.
Wall.
No, because it's all on the same system.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Or just pull
four
the
extension. Yeah, no, because I might need
You could
it one day.
update it so it doesn't do it anymore.
I know, but it's just sort of like a huge
Probably
amount.
means mine needs to do an update as well.
A huge amount of effort. Anyway, because it means I can't use one of my monitors as well because I need to watch it. Anyway, the Count sort of like looks down at you, and you sort of almost like sense him looking down at you, sort of like taking in the reverence, and then he just says to you, "You may rise." And the captain gets up.
Hengist will also stand up.
Got to wait there and then see that Hengist will stand up, and he'll stand up as well.
Yeah, I think I'll stand pretty much right when he says we can stand.
You sort of like turn the Count Bastian turns to the captain and says, "Captain, thank you for bringing them forthwith, very quickly into my presence. As always, you are efficient and effective in the role that you have earned in Lindo." And the captain sort of like bows and says, "All thanks to you, Count Bastian."
Gully will say, "Thank you, Captain."
Loyal subjects, you are probably wondering why I have brought you to my magnificent and probably foreboding for you establishment. This is my humble residence, and I have brought you here because of something very serious, something that has come to my attention, and something that I require to be dealt with as soon as possible. It would appear that you are the people that I need to talk to in relation to this. He turns to the captain and he says, "Sarv, are they aware, Captain? Sarv, are they aware of what happened a few days ago?" And the captain says, "No, Count Bastian. It would appear that there is something afoot within Odes, and it has been brought to my front door into Lindo. Last night, 2 days ago, on the night, Lindo was attacked. The first time in several decades that there has been fighting in the streets. And if it wasn't for the loyal guard," and he points to the captain, "and the efficiency, I am sure that the damage would have been far greater." What, you might be asking, attacked Lindo? And that is a very good question. It stood some 8 foot tall. It had the head of some kind of wild oxen, and yet the body, although distorted, was definitely humanoid, although its legs reverted to the hoofed-like legs of a goat or the cattle on a farm. It wrecked several parts of the town and killed many of the guards and residents. We are now trying desperately to replace the guards in case of another attack. But a friend of yours came to see me shortly after the attack and said that you three would be the people to help me, and that you would be returning to Lindo soon. I think you are aware of who I'm talking about. The staff-bearing mystic called Oki.
We do know of the mystic Oki, Lord Count.
It surprises me that you are not aware of how to address a count. I am no lord. I am just a count. No more words, then. I see.
Forgive me, Count. I come from a different land, and we dress the nobility slightly differently. You have to forgive my ways.
You now live in my lands. Learn our ways quickly. Otherwise it might be to your unfortunate demise. The guy next to him sort of like comes up and he sort of like bends down slightly and he whispers something in his ear.
Gulliver wants to try to catch what he says.
Go for it. Formidable perception roll.
Or even a point of luck wouldn't do it.
Yes, it would.
Oh, yes, it would.
Because it would revert it to 08 and you need 30 for formidable.
Yes.
Do you wish to do it?
I'm going to use a point of luck.
Okay. The guy actually, you hear straining your ears with your big ears. You manage to funnel the sound into your ginger head, and the guy at the side has just said, "Tell them about the boils, Count." But the damage did not stop at the carnage that the beast brought to Lindo. For after several of the residents and the brave members of the guard came down with some unknown illness, boils the size of my fist spread where the beast had touched them, covering their arms, legs, face, neck, slowly growing until bursting with painful consequences. Skin burst, blood poured, and in their final agony, they cried out loud as their skin blistered and peeled, and finally they succumbed to what can only be called as an expected and probable death. This is no longer, has never been seen in Lindo. But do not worry, Theseus. That is not a disease. It does not spread like a plague. It seems to be contained to those who were touched or near the beast. He pauses for a while, and the guy down by his side whispers something else to him.
Gulliver wants to try to listen in again. No.
That what help? Yeah. My faithful advisor has informed me that I should get to the point, and the point I shall get to. Your exploit and your recommendation from the mystic Oki precedes you and we have a problem that we require your services with. You may be aware of the town to the northeast of here, Ubbin Falls. It's an important trade route for us. However, for some time now, no caravan has arrived bringing trade to us. Important fish, dried fish and herbs and spices. Many herbs that our so-called surgeons need to treat our residents. Even the Order of the Kraken, and he turns and looks at you, Gulliver, have lost all communication with the town. Their portals no longer exist, and they cannot travel through the ether to this place. He looks at you, Bartleby, and says, the gods are quiet on this, both old and new, and it seems that Ubbin Falls has somewhat disappeared from the face of Odess. There is only one thing to do. We are sending you to see what has happened at Ubbin Falls. You and some of the captain's guards are going to venture to the town and then work out what is going on. However, we are somewhat concerned about the road and the dangers that a slow-moving group of people might encounter. So, as we speak, we are creating a different mode of transport. The barge is almost completed. Shallow, yet long enough and wide enough for a good company of men to sail up the river. It is masted, although this will be removed to sail under bridges, and oars will be the other form as a rear tiller to progress down the river. The barge will be completed within the next month or so, and you and some of the captain's guards will be venturing up on it. I thank you for your acceptance of this mission, and I wish you good fortune and hope that you are able to discover what has happened to the thriving community at Ubbin Falls. You notice the captain gets down on one knee.
Gulliver looks totally dismayed at the mention of oars.
Hengist, just before Hengist kneels, follows suit of the captain and kneeling, he says, "We thank you, Count Bastian, for this opportunity to serve you in this matter." And then he kneels.
The count is already walking out as if he's totally dismissed all four of you. And it is only when he reaches the door, he turns back to you. And he
Gulliver
says,
quickly kneel.
And he says, "And just so you're aware, so I can trust you, I am sending my faithful advisor, Jeremiah Clubfoot, with you." And the advisor sort of like goes, "What, my count? What, my count? You will go, Jeremiah Clubfoot. You will be my eyes and ears on this mission." "Sorry, Count, in all your wisdom, I am sure that I am better here to serve you." "You will be going, Jeremiah." "Yes, my Count. If you think that I am worthy enough to go with my injured foot, then I will try my best to keep up, although I may." "You are going, Jeremiah. Enough."
Gulliver's going to look to see whether or not he does have a big foot.
He has 2 boots on.
Right. But he doesn't have like a big heel on one or anything like that.
But whether or not one is actually like without a foot, you're not too sure. And Jeremiah sort of goes, yes, my count. Yes, my count. And they leave the room. The captain gets up and he sort of like turns to you and he says, My name is Sarv Strongarm. I'm captain of the guard, the outside guard, not the refined white imperial guard that lives within this fortifications, the count's abode. I am captain of the real guard. I will
What was he
take
called? Slav?
Sarv. I'll type it in chat for you.
Gulliver will say, "Hello, I'm Gulliver. Gulliver. Well, just Gulliver."
You are known to me, sorcerer, as is your friend, Bartleby, the follower, the worshipper of the god Amriel, and Hengist, the fighter who has come from a distant land. Our time here is ended. I will escort you back to your belongings.
Thank you, Sarv.
Gulliver's going to say, "Did you manage to injure the beast that attacked?"
He sort of like looks at you. It took 15 guardsmen to take him down with long spears. And even then, as we dealt the final blow, the beast shimmered and disintegrated.
Gulliver just sort of like look at him in awe with his eyes wide. 15 guardsmen.
That was after, boy, he had killed another 20.
That's a lot.
He takes you back to your room, and you are allowed to pick up your equipment. And then Sarv turns around to you and says, "It will take at least a month to finish the barge. Then we will set off. We will be in touch. Provisions for the journey will be on the barge, but it is suggested that you complete any of your own information gathering or tasks that you need to complete within the month. And then I will come and get you from the hairy hobgoblin. We have talked to Basil. We know that is where you are frequently found, around the table to the northeast."
We look forward to it, Captain.
And he takes you back out, and you collect your goods and head back for the time being to, as a base of operations, back to the hairy hobgoblin, just to discuss what your next series of actions will be. So, before we move on to anything else that people wish to do, I would like to remind you that you have a grand total of 4 experience rolls from the last adventures. So you have those to do how you wish with, and we'll go through them. We'll start with you, Gulliver, and then go from person to person. Please also remember that you will be you need to increase your any fumble rolls by 1% if you haven't already done so. So, Gulliver, you are up first. You have 4 experience rolls. What do you wish to do with them?
I'm just seeing why it won't let me. Won't let me change any of my skills. Gulliver actually has 7 experience rolls because he saved.
Because you're such a good role player.
Yes,
I gave you
3 from last adventure. Or the series of adventures before that.
Okay.
I do want to use some to buy a new sorcery spell.
Okay. So, new sorcery spell. Yeah. What else?
Is 5.
Okay.
Which leaves me with 2. And
yeah.
I want to use those remaining 2. I want to try to increase my. I want to try to increase my folk magic.
Okay. So.
And I also want to try to increase my invocation.
Okay, so you're rolling 1d100 and adding your intelligence. And what is your folk magic?
Okay, so my folk magic is currently 61.
So roll 1d100, add your intelligence, and
My intelligence is 14.
so you're trying to get 61 or above.
And then because I've got all the 1d100 plus 14, and I'm trying to get 61 or above. I don't, so I get 1%.
So it goes up by 1%. Yeah. Do you wish to keep with folk magic or the other one, or work on your invocation?
Yeah, my other one is going to be for invocation.
Okay.
Oh, I've also got a fumble on my folk magic, which is going to give me another 1%.
Okay, so fumbles normally go on before skill rolls. Okay,
Right.
but that
Okay.
it doesn't matter because with 48 you still would have failed.
Okay, so this is for my invocation is 68.
68, so 1d100. Oh, and 48 again. Well done. That's a nice thing. So that also goes up by 1 point. Okay, so you will be taking a trip to your order shortly in order to learn your new
Okay,
spell.
I also got a fumble on literacy.
Excellent, so that will increase by 1 point.
So that's gone up to 51. I also got a fumble on endurance.
Okay, so that will go up by 1%.
Oops, sorry, I rolled it by mistake there. So that'd be 5. So that puts that up to 21. And what was the other one I got? Oh, I got a fumble on unarmed.
Okay, so that will take it up to
Has
what?
to be increased in skills, doesn't it? Rather than
Say again.
I think you can increase it in combat. You can increase it in combat style.
no, it wouldn't let me do that.
Oh,
Let me have a look.
so I've done it.
I'm just coming into your character sheet.
It has like a in the base. It has like a.
So can you not increase training and experience by 1 point?
Oh, right. Yes. I can
You
now.
seem to have 2 unarmed combat styles as well.
Yes, because one of the updates actually put it into.
Okay, so you can just get rid of the bottom one.
Right. Okay. And that would be all my 7.
Okay.
5 for spell, 2 for the thing. The only thing that I do need to know is whether or not the spell is costing me any.
That would cost you your 5 experience roll. I'll
Right,
talk about that. Just on your character sheets, guys, can you make sure your character sheets are open? There should be 2 things, several things that will be updated. The first thing, in encumbrance, you will notice that there's a little box that says equip pack.
Oh yeah.
So if you tick that, it will automatically add anything that's on your equipment in your pack onto your encumbrance. If you go to your equipment list, you will now notice that everything has a location. And so therefore anything that's put into the pack, that's when it will actually add it on. So you've got like loadout is that you're carrying it, pack is in. So loadout is that you're carrying it somewhere in your body other than your pack. Pack, and then you see camp, stash, home base, so you can actually say exactly where anything is. And the other thing that you will find now is that if you look on your core, just underneath your movement rate, you will have a new attribute called tenacity. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movement rate.
Just underneath it should say tenacity.
Movement.
Near your luck points and magic points and whatnot.
Oh, right. Sorry, I was.
I was looking at different ones.
You got it?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that is exactly the same as your magic points. So just up it. So it should be out of so many. So just say how much you've actually got in that. And you'll see what that is used for later on in the game. Okay, so Gulliver will come to you'll need to go and visit your order shortly. and to see what's coming on. So next, Bartleby, let's talk about you. What would you like to do?
I already added in my fumbles for exhorting my goddess and for my 2 lores. So those are done. I wanted you to know that I did them.
Yeah, brilliant.
I already sent you what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to kind of move down that list. The first 2 are endurance, so I'm doing those right now.
Okay, so
intelligence is 14, so I'm a D100 plus 14, and my endurance is a 22. So I got to get a 22 or higher?
Correct.
Or is it 23 or higher?
You got to get, let me just say it. It actually says, if the roll is equal or greater to, then you increase your skill. So you need 20. What is your skill? 22?
Yes.
So 22 or higher with your plus 14.
Let's do it. Big money. Big money. Oh.
Yes. So roll 1d4 and add 1.
A little bit of money.
So that'll go up by 2 now. So now your endurance is 22.
Or 24.
24, sorry, yeah.
And I'm going to do endurance again for my second roll.
Yeah.
Big money. Oh, the biggest money.
Yeah, that's nice. So 1d4 plus 1.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm so strong now.
Excellent. Well, more endurance.
So that was 2 endurance. Then I'm going to do 1 in devotion, I believe is what I was doing. Because you know how I'm doing. Devotion is currently at 56.
Okay, so 1d100 plus... Yes, 1d4 plus 1.
I'm good at this rolling thing.
Yes, because you're rolling high, see. 3 points added to that.
Yes, I'm so dedicated. So dedicated. 3 points. And my final one, of course, is going to be my most important skill of dance, which is currently at 36.
36, so 1d100 plus 14.
Make my goddess proud. Yeah.
Yes. See, because you're so used to rolling high, everything works for you. Well, Gulliver is always rolling low, which means his skills work, but he can't get. Excellent. Right. So Bartleby, that's your skills done, and that's your experience rolls gone. Anything else that you need to do?
Beyond buying some equipment, but I presume that's coming next.
Yeah. Anything else apart from buying equipment?
I believe I'm good to go. That's all my experience and all my fumbles.
Okay. Are you planning on visiting Sylvester?
I was intending on visiting him right after this visit.
Excellent.
With the count.
So you will. So Gulliver.
Hengist, sorry to interrupt, but Hengist would have gone with Bartleby as well because he's got the map for Sylvester.
Yeah. Sorry. So Gulliver, you're going. You've done your experience rolls. You're going to the order. Is there anything else you would like to do?
There is a couple of things he wants to do. He is going to have a word with Basil because he during this downtime he wants to write a letter and see whether or not he wants to write back to Master Healy.
Okay.
So he wants to write a letter and ask Basil whether or not he would mind passing it on to Captain Seatide to take back with him the next time that Captain Seatide is going back to the old lands.
Okay, and that is. Do you wish to share the content of the letter, or do you just want to let me know at a later date?
I'll let you know because I've sort of like done it on a thing. But I mean, but basically, it just
okay.
It just
and
says,
can you tell me the name of Captain Seatide's ship?
Yeah, it's the Wave Crest.
Oh, well done. Excellent. So, so you could do that. We'll come to your order in a second. Bartleby, you've done your rolls. You're going to go to Sylvester. What else do you wish to do?
Let's see. If it's... Yeah, all I got left is visiting Sylvester and getting some items.
Okay. I didn't know whether or not you would like to go to your church and see whether or not there's anything you can help out, being a faithful follower of Amriel, who's a healing goddess. Maybe anything that you can help out with the boils.
Sort of like pricking boils with.
Yeah.
I intended to go there after I visit Sylvester because I made a promise to Sylvester I'd visit him first.
So if you tell me everything that you want to do, then I can blend it all together. Okay then.
Okay.
So Hengist, what would you like to do? Experience rolls first, please. Experience rolls first.
Well, Hengist has only got 3 out of the 4 because he doesn't learn very well. but he wants to use those 3 to learn a new combat style.
Okay. So in order to learn a new combat style, you have to be in an order. Okay. So there are 2 orders that you can currently join, and it's up to you which one you would like to join. Okay, so on your walk back to the hairy goblin, hobgoblin, the captain of the guard, Sarv Strongarm, does mention to you that they are looking for well-trained fighters to join the order of the guards. So he is quite happy for you to join the city guards of Lindo, if you wish to do that. And we'll carry on with your story at the moment, and then we'll go back to Gulliver and Bartleby. And also on one of the evenings at the actual Hobgoblin, once Gulliver and Bartleby had headed off to bed, you are approached by 3 people, 3 men and 1 woman, and they're called Bert, Jacknis, Sarios, and Lizette, and they are fighters. They're almost like mercenary style fighters, and they are members of a mercenary group called the Slayers, and they would very much like to welcome you into their order. They have limited resources at the moment, but they are growing in numbers and ranks, and they feel that things are changing in Odess, and they wish to be prepared for the onslaught. So I'll come back to you, Hengist, once you've had a thought, because I know I've just pounced that on you straight away. Of course, you don't have to join any of the orders, but you would have to save your experience rolls for later. Gulliver, you can hand over your letter to Basil, and he's quite happy to give it. And you trot off to your mentor, who's called
Mistress Duncan.
Mistress Duncan, who welcomes you back and asks for a full update. So the only thing I would like you to tell me is the important bits in a few words that you're going to tell her.
He wants to mention about the goblins,
Okay.
that we encountered in the woods, and describe the spell that was being cast. And he wants to also produce the 2 shrunken heads.
Yeah, that you took off the goblins. Yeah,
that goblin. He wants to tell her that this is what was being used. This is what it was using, and he wants to give her all the details about how the first one that we found, there was just sort of like a burning bit of stuff in the middle of it, but they didn't manage to cast the second one.
Okay. Anything else that you're going to pass over as information?
He is going to produce the book that he took, which was a book on alchemy.
Yeah, from the library.
Yeah, but he is going to say that the library was pretty much destroyed, but he did manage to locate one book that might have been of interest to the order.
Okay, and she gratefully accepts that. She is aware of the Count's request and is eager for you to help, and therefore will send you off to a room and will come over to you on the next series of days across the following weeks to help you with the learning of your spells. So please do add it to your character sheet and make sure that you know what it is, and make sure you fill in the description so I can see it when it's cast.
Already done.
Excellent. And Bartleby, you apparently are going off to see Sylvester, yeah?
Yes. Hopefully with Hengist in tow.
Yeah.
Hengist is in tow as well.
Gulliver's definitely not going to see him.
Yeah. And you head off to Sylvester's shop, and he's somewhat pleased yet not bothered to see you. Yeah, what would you like to tell him?
I've returned, Sylvester.
And
we made it to the library that was lost and hidden.
so it does exist.
Most certainly. My cohort here can back me up on that.
Of course, it does exist. Yes, we will.
And my map?
Not very helpful.
You will be happy to give it back to me then.
Oh, of course we will. But I don't think I have it. Hengist, did you pack it away?
I don't have that map, but I do have a map that we found in the library for you, which might be of interest.
I am expecting my map, and if you have another map, I am quite happy to see that.
Hengist, did we leave the map with Gully? I think we left the map with Gully.
I think Gully does have that map.
That is not a problem.
Dang it.
I can send a bluebird round.
Well, that works too. We'll solve that problem.
They can pick up the map, my original map, for you.
Hengist then fishes in his backpack and fishes out the map that he found in the library for Sylvester, and unrolls it and passes it over to him.
He sort of like looks at it and says, "It is interesting, but not fantastic. I will give you some coin for it."
Sounds good to me.
All of a sudden, in the doorway, the door sort of like burst open, and this sort of like this young lad, dressed in blue robes that you recognise are the bluebirds or the blue messengers that go around delivering messages. They're part of Gulliver's order, and they sort of like go around the town because, of course, there's very little people who can actually read, so they take the word of the message to people, and they get paid for it. And he sort of like comes and he sort of like says, "Oh, excuse me, kind sirs. I just came to have a quick word with Master McCoon." And Sylvester says, "Come in again." And I've just been talking to the undertaker, sir, and he says the payment is ready. It's required now. And Sylvester sort of like reaches underneath his desk and brings out a velvet pouch of money, like a drawstring bag. You have a quick look at it, and you think there's over 100 silver pieces probably in that. And he sort of like the bluebird sort of like comes right to the front and sort of like pushes past you, and takes the coinage. And that Sylvester says, "Wait." And does the gravestone say what I asked it to say? And the bluebird says, "Oh yes, Master McCoon. It says, to your beloved Griselle." "That is fine. Give this money to the undertaker, and tell him if he needs any more for the poor girl's burial, to come back and see me." Yes, Master McCoon, thank you." And he sort of like looks at you. Hengist sort of like nods his head and looks at you and nods his head, and then leaves. We were talking price, I think.
Yes, I guess we hadn't negotiated that price for the map.
Your asking price?
I'd like to roll commerce so that I can hypothesize kind of an accurate.
Cool,
guess.
Go for it.
I'm just finding where my commerce brain is. There we are. Ooh.
Yeah, you actually realise that in a normal sort of like vending sort of like opportunity, this map was probably only worth about say 50 silver pieces. But in this situation, because you know Sylvester's love for maps, and it is almost his addiction to maps, it could be anywhere between 300 silver pieces and 500 silver pieces.
I'm gonna go for a conservative 330 silver.
And he sort of like turns to you and he says, I hate working in tens. And it sort of like reaches underneath his counter and brings out 3 sort of like pouches of silver coins, and then empties the 4th onto his desk and sort of like counts out 10 and sort of like piles them up next to the other 300. And so you've got 3 pouches of 100 silver pieces each, and then 10. And then he puts the rest back into the pouch and stores it underneath his desk. And I will send a bluebird for my original map in good time. And believe me, Thesis, you do not want to try to mess with me at all.
Why would you think I'd want to be messing with you, Sylvester? I thought we were like almost business partners now.
You may go.
Okay.
And he's sort of like,
I'm gonna grab the coins or grab the bags and point the
waves
coins
it
towards
yeah. So yeah. So you've got some information there that should be interesting for you. And yeah, and by the way, Bartleby, your trip to your church, you bring your mentor up to date with the happenings. And is there anything you want to ask him or not?
This would be Jeremiah Cross, yeah?
Yes.
I guess I want to tell him as much as I can about everything in an enthusiastic way, particularly focusing on anything that was dangerous in the story: the ogre, the goblins, Aaron's spear. All sorts of danger.
He listens eagerly, making notes on his parchment every now and again, and nodding almost like knowingly, and sort of like informs you that he's heard what's happening, that you are now under the command of the Count to venture to Ubbin Falls. And he sort of like gives you his blessing and says that they are treating the injured as much as they can. So any knowledge about how to prevent the boils from causing death would be most appreciative for the coming battles. And you sort of like get up and sort of like head out towards the out of the church, and just as you leave, he turns around and he says, will you be at the Hairy Hobgoblin?
Of course, Jeremiah Cross. I will be there with my friends most of the time, I guess.
I will send something for you. Consider it a gift.
Oh, I will, of course.
And you head back to the Hairy Hobgoblin. Hengist, what would you like to do?
So before Hengist makes his decision, he wants to talk to Basil, the Earless, and he wants to ask him about this group, the Slayers, that have approached him, and he wants to know as much as Basil knows about them, sort of like what sort of how long they've been around. They
haven't been around for a huge amount of time at all. They started shortly after the attack on Lindo. And it's like a group of people who are sort of like getting together in order to establish an order of some reputation that can be supportive in the forthcoming battle, however not connected to the actual sovereignty or the count as a guard. So almost like a separate army that can come and go. So they almost like consider it as a group of people who if the count might send its own guard, like the charge of the Light Brigade, into a dangerous battle that they knew is futile, the guard would have to follow that order, or there would be treason involved. However, the Slayers would not, because they are not connected to the sovereignty or the count at all. Basil does sort of like tell you that they are growing in numbers, and they have accommodation, a building here in Lindo already, and they must be about 50 strong. And as people are joining, most of them are common folk, i.e. people who are joining to sort of like learn the combat in order to protect their families, and maybe a whole load of people who you know, fathers and husbands who are not able to join the guard, so are able to join the Slayers as the second mercenary company.
Okay, he also wants to ask about the town guard as well, and Sevar Strongarm, and sort of like he wants to know as much as he can about them as well, if that's all right.
What would you like to know about the town guard?
Well, it's sort of like if you know their reputation, the sort of people that join.
It's a great honour to be
sort of
in the command of the Count. You know, he is the commander and chief of the guards. There are 2 levels. There's a normal town guard that you've seen, and then there's sort of like the Count's personal guard that lives up in the castle with the Count himself, and they are on protection duty for the Count. And you know, you've met you've seen the guards in action in various times, so they're long established, and you know, many people actually would like to be a guard, but they are under the command of the Count.
You might get to meet Ben joining them.
I might get to meet Ben. Hengist is probably going to join the Count's town guard under Strongarm.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So the captain, of course, is very happy for you to join the guard, and you put your cross on the contract. That means that you are in the actual guard, and at this present moment in time, you are you're like an initiate, just sort of like at the bottom of the rung, and the captain understands that, you know, you can't be put straight on guard duty or anything like that because of the mission that the Count wishes you to do. However, he does sort of like reassure you to remember that he is now your commander, and he is now in charge of you, and that he is willing therefore to teach you the weapons skill that you want to know over the next month. So by all means, fill that in, add what it is, make sure you've got your damage, etc. It will start off as your strength and dexterity, which will be the default thing.
Brilliant. That's sorted. And then there is some equipment that Hengist would like to buy if it's not already provided by the guard.
So any equipment that you wish to buy, then you can buy it before we set off. So the prices are just what it says in the core rule book at the present moment in time. Of course, these will inflate in a time of war, so please be aware of that. And you sort of like have to remember that if war does come, then what the actual prices, because the merchants will of course double their prices. So, but I will tell you if anything like that happens. And it's coming to the end of the month, and you are all congregated in the heavy hobgoblin, and it's one night, and you're sat around the table. If you wish to move, can you see the heavy hobgoblin? Are you on the same page? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you would like, I know Gulliver sat in his normal seat, but if you guys would like to sit anywhere different, then that would be completely up to you if you move yourselves now. I didn't know whether or not Hengist was happy to have his back to the rest of the tavern or anything. What about you, Bartleby? Whereabouts would you like?
I guess I'll move a little closer then if Hengist isn't going to sit in that seat. It's already warm, so I mean.
Yeah, it's nicely toasted. Okay.
Thank you, Hengist.
And it's while you're busy eating, perhaps maybe your final meal, when somebody walks in to the bar, to the tavern. It must be about 5'10". He seems to be clad in various items of laminated armor and leather, and he's carrying almost like what appears to be like a huge hammer, and he goes up to Basil and asks him something that you can't hear over the noise of the tavern. And Basil sort of like nods and points over to your table, and the person comes along and stands next to you, Bartleby, and he says, "Bartleby Fumus."
That would be me.
"I have been sent by your mentor."
You're the gift.
"I am to be your acolyte." And
Oh, that's delightful.
You turn round and you look up to him, and he removes his leather cap, and you notice that it's somewhat of a young man who has has no hair. It's shaved off, and you also notice that just down the ridge there's a scar, as if somebody's planted a weapon of some description into his head. And it's at that point, Bartleby, that you suddenly realise that you're looking at Ben.
Ben?
And
oh my gosh.
And we will take our break there.
Oh, he's grown up so much.
So we are going to have, guys, a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll go right the way through then to the end after this 10 minutes, because it'll be appropriate as we go off on the barge trip after a brief encounter with Ben. So we will be back in 10 minutes. So please go and have a drink, grab something to eat, and we'll be back in 10. See you soon.